Hi, so it's Memorial Day weekend 2020, and I'm on my way driving from Minneapolis to Cedar Rapids and then on to home in St. Louis, Missouri. And I was just thinking, at the beginning of the year, I said that I wanted this year to be my year of bravery. This is the year that I want to step out and be brave. And I know that comes as a shock to everyone because, I'm not exactly a shy critter here. But there's some things that stories that I've held inside, and they're wonderful, beautiful, majestic stories to me. And I just feel like I want to share them. So these are just experiences that I've had. But the one that I want to share with you today is I have a scar from here to here on my middle finger on my right hand. And I want to tell you that. So when I was 8 years old, one of my duties was to dry the dishes. Now, my little sister was helping. And when somebody, she was 3 at the time, when somebody wants to help at that age, sometimes it's always not helping because you have to go back and redo what they're doing and everything. But she wanted to help dry dishes. So she was drying a few bowls, a few cups, and then she grabbed a big butcher knife. She didn't know what she was doing. She was just helping me dry dishes. And so when I saw that, I grabbed it away from her, like really fast, grabbed it away from her, and then she started crying. The woman who was raising me came in, and she didn't hear what I had to say. She didn't ask why. She just started beating the crap out of me. And I wanted to tell her that I did a good thing. I really did a good thing because I saved her. I saved my little sister from hurting herself and getting cut. I really did a good thing, but none of that was to be heard. And so after it was all said and done, I was sent back to do the dishes. And I was crying. I was so upset. And so I picked up that same butcher knife and I swiped it blade down. Normally I would swipe it blade up, so I didn't get cut, and it went all the way down to my bone. And on an 8-year-old, that's not too hard to do. So I'm looking at all of this blood coming out. You can actually see the bone. Irene held it underneath the water. She held it under scalding hot water. The skin, you could see it turn a pale color, and it was a little burnt inside. And then when it wouldn't stop bleeding, she took me to the emergency room. Now, in the emergency room, she was so cruel. And they asked her to leave the emergency room while I was being taken care of. While I was sitting on the gurney, a nurse came over to me and she bent down and she held my hands and she said the sweetest thing I'd ever heard in my life. I don't remember what it was, but I just remember her presence, and I remember just how calm and sincere she was with whatever it was that she was telling me. So on the way home, after we left, I got like 8 or 9 stitches or something. On the way home, I was finally able to say, hey, this is what I did. This is why this happened. And, I wanted to tell her and have her say, wow, you did good. Now, that never came. And then, I remember I was sitting there and I was thinking, what did I do? What did I do? Why isn't this a good thing? And, I asked her, I said, why did this happen? What did I do? And she stopped the car and put it in park. She turned her head, looked at me, and she said, Kenneta, you're just a bad girl. And God doesn't love bad girls like you. Put the car in drive and drove off. And I remember thinking as an 8-year-old kid, who is God? And all I knew is that from Sunday school was he's this big being in the sky, and he made everything, and he loved everyone, but he didn't love me. Why? What did I do? And I kept thinking about this over and over. What did I do that was so wrong that he could not love me? And I went to bed asleep that night, and I had a dream. And in that dream, I was on a playground. I live right across the street from the school. I was on the playground, and they had one of those metal things that you run and you jump on, and then it keeps spinning and spinning you. I think they're called like merry-go-rounds. And in my dream, I was sitting on the merry-go-round, and I looked down at my feet, and I had the most beautiful white patent Mary Jane shoes with the cutest little socks that turned down that had all the lace around it. And I had on a beautiful pink dress with all the ruffles and lace around the skirt part. And all the other kids, they were over on the other side of the playground, and nobody wanted to come over and play with me. Well, when I looked down at my feet again, I saw the ugliest man feet ever approach me. But these man feet were beautiful. They were in rope woven sandals, and his cloak was a heavy linen, almost like a canvasy type material. And he came over and he played with me. I immediately recognized him, not by his feet, not by his linen, but by who he is. That was Jesus, and he came over to play with me, unlovable me. And when I woke up the next morning, I told Irene, I said, I saw Jesus last night. And she said, no, you didn't. And I said, yeah, I did. And she goes, well, what did he look like? And so I told her about the sandals and, the robe and everything. And she just got all mad. And then all of a sudden, all of the color drained right out of her face. She was no longer looking at me. She was looking behind me. And to this day, it doesn't even matter what was back there. I would like to believe that it was a spirit of a mighty angel that was standing there. But she had the look of absolute fear on her face. And she didn't say anything. And I walked away. I've never in my life ever saw that reaction or that fear in her face. So, that just, what an amazing story that was for me, Nobody else showed up. There was nobody else there. The universe didn't show up for me. No one else, nothing else showed up for me except for Jesus in my 8-year-old mind as I understood him at that time. Now, many years ago, many years after that, when I was in my early 20s, I was at the beach, and I used to journal and write a lot, and I was very thoughtful. And I was just thinking, and I was writing my thoughts down, and then, I looked at my hand, and I said, that scar is still there. And it's like I felt in my spirit that Jesus himself reached out to me again and said, so is mine. Now that was beautiful, and you may not understand all of that, and but this is my story, this is my experience, and this is my one of the hopes that I've had, I could hold on to all these years while I was just so screwed up and emotionally, physically, and broken in ways that humans should never be broken. And it all ends in a happy story, man. I don't know what else to say, but that was just on my heart today to share with you, and share with you some other dreams that I've had. Another dream that I had was I asked God, I said, where were you? Where were you? Where were you when all of this was going on? And I know a lot of you have that same question. It's a very valid question to ask, you know, and so I'm going to continue praying for my bravery. It took a lot of courage to even talk about this and put it down on video, but I know somewhere out there, just one person may see hope in my story. Just one person may feel the joy that I feel. And so that means the world to me, that everything that I went through was certainly not in vain. But back to what I was telling you. So yeah, my next story I want to share with you the dream that I had when I asked God, where were you? And I think that you'll find it very interesting. So I'm going to keep on praying for bravery, and I'm going to keep on being me. And thank you for being an audience. And if you feel that somebody else could be encouraged by this story, then feel free to share. And I love you all. Bye.